Hello and welcome back together to this weekly update on the financial markets. My name is Jens and like always I want to discuss with you the price action of the S&P 500 index, US oil, gold and Bitcoin against the US dollar. You see all my open trades and my trades from the past and my trades I want to take in the future. So let's start directly in with the S&P 500 on the weekly time frame, and then we will go down to the daily and also the 4-hour time frame. Yeah, here you can see the weekly time frame of the S&P 500 index. We had a massive crash after seeing the divergence in the MACD indicator to price, like back in the days here. What followed was a crash. What followed was also here a crash, but instead of a bear market, like we have seen in the past, we have seen a V-shaped recovery, like with the COVID-19 crash. So my prediction was wrong. It seems like that we get an ABC correction. It was indeed a V-shaped correction. You could have used that if you from beginning on was thinking, man, that's a V-shaped recovery. It bounced nearly at the 200 moving average, so it was picture perfect for an entry level, but only if you haven't been the opinion that we will see further declining prices like me. So because of that, you can see I lost a short position here. 0.5% of my account balance was at risk and I lost them plus fees. But don't worry, still positive account balance here. Let's delete that one out and focus back on the current price action and what is telling us. Yeah, we have indeed this broken uptrend, but MACD on the weekly crossed to the upper side, which is a bullish sign, and also this correction went higher than expected, so that's too high normally statistically that we see now a second leg to the downside. So I think it's over, and every correction is a good idea to be bought and profit from rising prices in the future. Let's drop one time frame lower to the daily time frame. Here you can see this failed trade. I was entering here expecting lower prices. Instead we got higher prices and a breakout above this daily resistance zone here, much higher than expected. And also we have taken out important high here, and now I'm expecting a correction, maybe something like this. Then from there on, continuation of higher prices, and I want to be part of that. I will probably use this area here, this setback, for a long trade, but more to that on the lower time frames. Let's delete that trade out because that's belonging to the past. Like I said, I think it's run a little bit hot here to the upside, and then we have to cool a little bit down. Maybe if we take from the last major low to the high, the Fibonacci retracement level, you find this 0.382 Fibonacci retracement level near this support and resistance zone on the daily in white here, and that could be a good entry point if you believe in further uptrend and new all-time highs in the index. Also, MACD wants to cross to the downside on a daily, and I think it will, and yeah, that could be a good opportunity. If we drop one time frame lower to the 4-hour time frame, you can see I marked this one already as a top with an asking sign. MACD on the 4-hour time frame already crossed to the downside, and I think it's time for some pause in this upside momentum. I would expect maybe also here an ABC correction. Why always an ABC correction? Because that pattern occurs pretty often in the markets. Because of that, I like to see them to be sure that the correction is over. And if I see then a breakout above the trend line, a retest to the breakout level, and then a break of this retest to the upper side, that's the perfect spot for me also for times to get in with a long position. How could that look like? Like the following. If it comes like that, stop loss below point C, below this support zone from the daily time frame, entry above this retest of the ABC pattern that may occur, and then the target would be good risk reward ratio, probably higher than that. A 2-to-1 risk ratio would be fine, and then see if it works like expected. For sure, the market can do everything, so it hasn't come like that. We can also see a break again below this daily support zone, a retest, and then a break the retest lower, and then make a double bottom on the weekly or even lower prices. All is possible, but I think at the moment it looks more unlikely, so I prepare myself for long trades, not short trades, but you can decide for yourself. That's all I have for the S&P 500 index, but stay tuned for US oil. US oil here on the weekly time frame long-term view, you can see in red the solid monthly downtrend line with a nice downtrend that got broken to the upside, and since then we are in a big retest of that. After such a long year lasting move, you can also expect a long lasting correction. We could argue on the bigger time frame that will get an A, B, C correction as well, like we have seen it also in the S&P 500 index. And then if we break that one to the upper side, we can expect higher prices for longer. But till that happens, we are bearish for US oil. Like you can see, the price was breaking the major weekly support zone to the downside, so now it turned resistance, and we will probably see also resistance here and then further declining prices. Also, we are below the 200 moving average on the weekly, which indeed is also bearish. Let's drop one time frame lower to the daily time frame. You can see I was also able to throw in a daily white solid downward line. Price is currently below that, so until that ain't changing, I stay bearish for oil. We see lower highs and lower lows, and until that keeps the pattern, I also stay bearish. I said that now often enough. So I'm not speculating at the moment on long trades for oil. Maybe you can look out for short trades. For me, I would like the scenario to see oil rise up to this daily downtrend line in white. From there on decline, make up maybe again a lower low, retest and break the retest to the downside, and then I would be up for a short trade in this area. You could also argue that this is a shoulder pattern, and if the neckline of that gets broken to the downside, that could be a good entry level. But still only imagination. We have to see what price gives us in the future. If we drop down to the 4-hour time frame, it's not more spectacular than one time frame higher. At the moment, I don't see a good trading opportunity here. Let's switch to gold because that chart looks more interesting than oil. Gold here long term at the weekly time frame, at least from an investor perspective, it would have been a better idea to be invested in gold as in a commodity as in US oil as a commodity. That's for sure. Yeah, we are pretty much extended to the upper side. It was a steep run. MACD indicator is absolute limits on the weekly to the upper side. Nothing in the past looked like that. And yeah, probably that was a blow-off move for the correction will happen, and then maybe a continuation of the overall long-term uptrend. Personally, I believe in the long-term uptrend, but believing is nothing for chart analysis. So because of that, I stay with the facts. MACD maybe wants to cross to the downside for a correction. We are currently at the 10-week moving average, which normally acts as support. And like you can see, we got rejected a little bit here, green to the upside. But overall, I think it's time for a bigger correction, and we will have to decline even lower. How low? We will look that up on the daily time frame. You can see this daily white solid uptrend line, and I would really like to see a retest of the $3,000 level that would perfectly match with this daily white solid uptrend line. For that, this secondary daily dotted white uptrend has to get broken to the downside. The last time we touched it, we got rejected to the upside. And also MACD here is looking like it could cross to the upside, which would be bullish. Because of that, I have a bullish and bearish scenario here for gold on the lower time frame, the 4-hour time frame. Here we are on the 4-hour time frame. MACD here wants to cross to the downside, so I mark this also with an arrow and a question mark if that's the top of this movement. So far we have seen lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, so an intact downtrend. And I only would go into a long position if I see a nice retest to this 4-hour support zone and a break of this top here to the upper side. So indeed a higher high, break of this blue dotted downward line, a retest and a break of the retest to the upside, and then I'm again long in gold with stop loss probably below this move to the downside, this retest entry above the retest. If it gets broken to the upper side, then a nice risk reward ratio. We will see then if that happens. Still imagination so far, but that would be my bullish case for gold. And until that is happening, I stay bearish short term for gold, and we will probably see even more declining prices. that's the path for gold, in my opinion. I could short gold here because I'm believing that, but short is in a pretty solid uptrend. Never bet against the trend. Yes, the short-term trend is pointing to the downside, but the daily and weekly uptrend is pointing to the upside. So at the moment, I'm not willing to trade against this. In the past, if you have watched my videos, I tried it often enough and I burned my fingers often enough. Luckily, only with small positions, not much capital at risk. But I think I'm better off with waiting for the decline and then waiting for a break, getting resistance, building out the bottom, and then a break of a downtrend to the upside and use that as an opportunity to get again long in gold. You can do for sure otherwise. That's your opinion and your money. If you like, drop your opinion in the comments below. I will answer them for sure. That's it for gold. Let's switch to Bitcoin. Yes, you have seen it right. We have made a new all-time high in Bitcoin. Just a couple of weeks ago, everything looked pretty sad and bad with tariffs in play and so on. But Bitcoin holds pretty well in comparison to stocks. And yeah, after stocks turned to the upside, Bitcoin did as well. We got a MACD cross on the weekly time frame, which was an early sign. We have seen a break of the weekly 10-week moving average to the upside, which was a sign, and I went long with a small position of 1% at risk. My stop loss was below the last low here, and that was my entry level, and I already moved my stop loss to my entry level, so the trade is now risk-free with $2,190 at the moment in profit, but my target is a little bit higher, around the $120,000 mark, but we will look at that on lower time frames. On the daily time frame, you can see a MACD divergence here on the bottom of this range. MACD making higher lows while prices making lower lows. We had an intact daily solid white downtrend line. That one got broken to the upside. We consolidated a little bit around this breakout level, and then we got the entry level here, and I went long. The stop loss, like I said, below the lowest point of the movement, and then we have seen a nice green candle breaking also the daily resistance zone. That's now turning support, and I waited the whole time, the whole movement, that we got a nice setback, a nice retest of this breakout to enlarge my position, maybe to 2% capital at risk. Bitcoin hasn't made it. It went straight up, making now finally, I think yesterday it was a new all-time high. But I think the movement is a little bit accelerated right now. So the daily looks like also at the MACD indicator, like we could turn the next couple of days. And also at the 4-hour time frame, you have here this blue dotted uptrend line still intact. Oops. Yeah, I think it could be time for a pullback. Maybe it is going a little bit higher. If we see moves like that above the all-time high, we got the media involved. Bitcoin is making a new all-time high. New retail traders and investors come in, and the price gets pushed even a little bit higher. And then people maybe like you and I that have already a little bit of profit with this trade will sell, and we will see a nice pullback. Maybe we can use that one to get in another position, but so far I'm happy with the existing one, and like you can see, my target would be slightly below $120,000. Why I have chosen that one? If you use the Fibonacci level from the low of the movement to the last high of the movement, then you get also Fibonacci extension levels, and the first one is at $125,000 and the second one is at $144,000. Both levels you can put a take profit target on. I like oftentimes, if the risk reward ratio is good, to take the first one. The risk reward ratio is good with 2.5, and a little bit slightly below that even, because I like to play conservative. Yeah, Bitcoin new all-time high. Unlikely that we'll see an end of the movement and that it gets and more develops a double top scenario in return. Not impossible for sure, but I think the more unlikely scenario. So if you want to get in, maybe wait for pullback and then wait for a break of a downtrend line on a lower time frame, and then you can get in, but make decisions by yourself like always. That's it for the weekly update, guys and girls. Till next time. Bye bye.